By the spring of 1917, Europe was tearing itself apart. The Great War had dragged into its third year, turning entire nations into muddy landscapes of mechanical slaughter. The carnage was so vast that diplomacy seemed entirely useless. So, on May 5th, Pope Benedict XV published a pastoral letter directly begging the Blessed Virgin Mary to intervene and bring peace to the world. Exactly 8 days later, an answer arrived. But it didn't come to the Vatican or to any head of state. It came to a rocky hillside in central Portugal, appearing to 3 uneducated shepherd children, Lúcia, Francisco, and Jacinta. Curious, slightly hushed tone. Heaven had already begun preparing these children in 1916 through a series of visits from a figure who identified himself as the Angel of Peace. The angel provided profound sacramental encounters that reached beyond simple instruction. He taught the children a prayer of pardon and administered Holy Communion, giving the host to Lúcia and the contents of the chalice to Francisco and Jacinta. The effect on the young cousins was immediate and documented by their families well before they became famous. They suddenly began spending hours prostrate in deep prayer and voluntarily took on physical mortifications, like giving up their lunches and wearing rough ropes around their waists. These 1916 encounters built a necessary spiritual foundation. They fortified 3 ordinary children from an obscure village to endure the grueling, intensely public mission that would begin the following May. On May 13th, and again on June 13th, the children were visited by a lady they described as more brilliant than the sun. She revealed her immaculate heart, told them to return on the 13th of each month, and promised that the 2 youngest, Jacinta and Francisco, would soon be taken to heaven. The July 13th encounter carried a far heavier weight. The lady imparted 3 secrets, beginning with a terrifying, instantaneous vision of hell that left the children visibly trembling. To prevent souls from going there, she delivered specific requests: the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart, the establishment of the 5 First Saturdays devotion, and a new prayer to be added to the Rosary, begging Jesus to save us from the fires of hell. By August, local secular authorities intervened. The anti-clerical mayor of the district abducted the children, locked them in the public jail, and threatened them with death by boiling oil, trying to force them to reveal the secrets. None of the 3 broke their silence or recanted a single detail. They were released, and by their September 13th meeting, the crowd tracking them had swelled to 25,000. Priests in the crowd recorded seeing strange atmospheric light anomalies. It was here the lady promised that in October she would perform a miracle so that all might believe. On October 13th, an estimated 70,000 people stood in a freezing, torrential rain. At noon, the lady finally identified herself as the Lady of the Rosary. Then, the rain abruptly stopped. The clouds parted. According to tens of thousands of witnesses, the sun began to spin like a silver disk, casting prismatic colors across the landscape. Suddenly, it appeared to detach from the sky, plummeting toward the earth in a terrifying zigzag motion before returning to its place, leaving the muddy ground and the soaked crowd completely dry. This event was documented immediately. Avelino de Almeida, the chief editor of the anti-Catholic secular newspaper O Seculo, had gone to Fátima to mock the event. Instead, he published a front-page article openly stating that, before his own eyes, the sun had danced. The miraculous phenomena tied to Fátima did not end in the mud of 1917. Decades later, the medical establishment would document entirely new events. In 1989, Maria Emília Santos, paralyzed for decades with a severely calcified spine, was completely healed after completing a novena to Jacinta. Then, in 2013, a Brazilian boy named Lucas Maeda de Oliveira fell 20 feet from a window, sustaining severe traumatic brain injury. After his family urgently invoked Francisco and Jacinta, he awoke days later with absolutely no brain damage or neurological deficits. After a thorough review of the medical files, the Vatican confirmed the boy's healing defied scientific explanation. In 2017, Pope Francis officially canonized the 2 youngest seers. The 6 apparitions over the Cova da Iria are among the most rigorously investigated events in church history. They offer a century of medically vetted and publicly documented validation for an enduring, actionable spiritual remedy. The Lady of Fátima offered an actionable plan of life for the modern believer. Her requests provide a specific way to participate in the spiritual renewal of the world. This begins with 2 central requests: the daily recitation of the Rosary, adding the Fátima prayer to each decade, and the observance of the 5 first Saturdays. Third is consecrating yourself to her Immaculate Heart. The 4th step requires actively offering your daily trials and sufferings as sacrifices for the conversion of sinners. The 5th element is wearing the brown scapular, which she presented as inseparable from the Rosary. Finally, making constant reparation to Jesus in the Eucharist completes this unified cycle of devotion. The entirety of this message pivots on the lady's final, sorrowful plea given on that October afternoon. People must amend their lives and ask pardon for their sins. Through these 6 practices, the message of Fátima places the power of global peace and personal salvation directly into the daily habits of the faithful.